What is an LLC exactly? Why is it the most common business type in the US? Do I need an LLC to open my own business? For anyone new to the entrepreneur landscape, there are hundreds of questions like this floating around in their head. And I wanted to make a video that will give you everything you need to know and consider before opening your LLC. Fair warning, if you are an experienced business person, you might get bored as some of the topics covered are basic concepts. Okay, so the best way to get started is to get started. Let's go. Welcome to Hustle Libraries, where we talk about all things business. Today there are 3 topics we need to cover to give you the tools you need to get started. State and legal LLC aspects. Formation, how to open your LLC. And operation, how to run your LLC. But before we get started, let's look at what we already know. If you watched our business entity video, you'll remember we talked about ownership, liability, and taxes related to LLCs. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, here's a quick recap. LLC owners are known as members, and depending on the state that they are organized in, you can have as little as 1 member. This is known as a single member LLC, by the way, or as many as an infinite number of members. An LLC is exactly as the name implies, a limited liability company. LLCs limit the liability of its members to only the business assets. This means that in the event of a lawsuit, an owner's personal assets are shielded. Only the business assets are in jeopardy. And last, taxes. LLCs are the most versatile business entity when it comes to taxes. An LLC can elect to be taxed as an S Corp or as a C Corp. We will take a closer look at this later in the video, but if nothing is done, the profits or losses will flow through to the owner, and taxes get filed on his or her personal tax return. This is a good place to pick up and dive into the state and legal aspects. Let's say you open a business under an LLC. By creating an LLC, you are essentially putting up a wall between yourself and your business. The state you are organized in sees you and your business as 2 separate beings. However, this is not always the case federally. Depending on how the LLC will be taxed is how you will be viewed by the IRS. An LLC that elects to be taxed as a C Corp or S Corp is viewed as 2 separate beings, the owner and the corporation. You can do this simply by making a check-the-box election. This means that you file Form 8832 with the IRS. This is something you really need to think about before doing, because once this election is made, a subsequent change is subject to a 60-month rule. So you can only do this once every 5 years. If no election is made, the IRS will view the LLC as a disregarded entity. What does this mean? A disregarded entity simply means that the IRS does not view the LLC as a separate being from its owner. So while a state can view you as a separate being from your business, the IRS may view you as one and the same. So how do you actually make an LLC? You first need to come up with a name. It can be anything you want as long as it hasn't been taken already. And you need to make sure that the name includes LLC, limited, limited company, etc. in the name. It will be slightly different depending on which state you are in. Every state has its own set of rules to follow. But generally, there is only one step to legally starting your LLC. You must file the Articles of Organization with the Secretary of State. Once that is filed and approved, you legally have your LLC. But that's not all. Your business can run under a different name than what is registered with the state. This is known as a DBA, or Doing Business As. There are many pros and cons to this, which we will look at in depth in a future video. But for now, just know that a DBA is a possibility for your business. After your LLC is set up, you'll want to make sure you treat it as a separate being from yourself. The business needs its own checking account. And to get a business account, you will first need an EIN, or Employer Identification Number. To get one, you need to file Form SS-4 with the IRS. With an EIN, your LLC will also be able to have its own credit. It can have its own credit cards or have loans separate from your personal accounts. With an EIN, you will also be able to start employing others to work for your business. You will also need to create an operating agreement. This can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be, but it is extremely important. Having the operating agreement in place will help maintain your limited liability. Because when you are operating your business, you are simply following the guidelines put in place by the agreement. You are not making decisions as yourself. Now, your LLC is legally set up. You have your EIN so you can get your business checking account and credit cards. You are ready to start operating your business. So how do you put money into the business to get it up and going? To fund your business, you can write a check from your personal checking account to the business. Make sure you identify this as an owner's contribution and keep good records of all your transactions. Taking money out of the business works in a similar way. The LLC writes a check from the business account to you, and it is labeled as an owner's distribution. Again, make sure you keep good records of these transactions. Keeping the business transactions separate from your personal transactions is of utmost importance. This is how you keep your liability limited. When you use your business accounts for personal transactions, you run the risk of piercing the corporate veil. Consider the corporate veil the protection your LLC offers you and your personal assets. If the veil is pierced, your personal assets could be in jeopardy should creditors come after your business. You have to keep a very clear separation from your LLC if you want to maintain your liability limited. This needs to come across in everything you do. When you sign contracts for your LLC, you cannot sign as yourself. It must be the LLC signed by you. When you are making payments on behalf of the business, these need to come out of the business accounts. When your business gets paid, these payments need to go into your business account. Other things to consider to operate your LLC now that you are open for business. Once your LLC is profitable, you will need to make quarterly estimated tax payments. Every year you will need to renew your LLC with the Secretary of State. You will also need to check with your local jurisdictions to see if you need any city or county permits or licenses or other business licenses. This will likely depend on the type of business that you operate. Meeting minutes. These are simply a record of the meeting that your LLC has. In these meetings, you must plan out important business decisions, document them, and keep a record of them. If you are opening a new branch, document it. If you are shifting your overall business strategy, document it. If you are making a big purchase, document it. Even if you are a single-member LLC, you must have a meeting with yourself and make sure you track your meeting minutes. Keeping good records of this will help ensure you do not pierce the corporate veil. So why are there more LLCs than any other business entity? For two reasons. First, it's the cheapest way for an owner to limit his or her liability. You can generally set up an LLC with as little as $100 to $200. Yes, S Corps and C Corps also offer its owners limited liability, but these entities are way more costly to set up, as you will likely need to hire a lawyer to help with the paperwork. And second, the simplicity of it. You can set up an LLC on your own in as little as a couple of hours, without the need to hire a professional. Legal aspects, formation, and operation. We've covered everything you need to consider before you open your LLC. As I mentioned earlier, the best way to get started is to get started. So, what are you waiting for? If you know anyone that may get any value from this, consider sharing it with him. Subscribe for more business videos. If you have any topics you want me to cover, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, guys.